So at the global launch of Abyssdia, we're starting off with 20 playable characters. And in this world, they're called vanguards. Each of them belongs to a different affiliation like Abyssdia Company, Perfect Heroes, Verania Knights, Blooming Rose Company, Outlander, and more. And trust me, those affiliations are not just for lore flavor. They actually matter when it comes to team building, synergy, and how you approach battles. Some factions lean more into burst damage, some focus on control or sustain, and a few are just pure chaos in the best way possible. In this video, we're breaking down a full tier list of the best vanguards at launch, who's dominating the meta, who's surprisingly strong with the right setup, and who might need a little extra love to shine. I'll also go over their key abilities and the team synergies that make them truly powerful, because in Abyssdia, it's not just about picking strong characters, it's about building the right squad. So if you're re-rolling, planning your first main team, or just wondering who's worth investing in, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Abyssdia. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Elena, Florin, Flolan, Ruby, and Yoru. Now this is the part of the list where things get interesting, because B tier in Abyssdia is basically they're trying their best club. These characters won't completely carry your account into the heavens, but they absolutely have their moments to shine, especially before the late game monsters start bullying your team. Let's start with Elena. She's one of those beautiful free-to-play blessings that every player can access early on, and honestly, she does her job well. She brings essential early game utility and throws out some basic debuffs that help your team survive and push through story content. In the early stages, that kind of support feels amazing, but once you start stepping into high-end player versus environment or competitive player versus player modes, her impact starts to fade. She's reliable, she's helpful, but she's not exactly breaking the meta. Think of her as your dependable first teammate who eventually gets outscaled. Then we have Florin, your stable and straightforward damage dealer. She works really well as a sub damage per second unit and is super easy to slot into early to mid game teams. No complicated setup, no galaxy brain strategy required. Just plug her in and let her do her thing. The only catch? As the game progresses and enemy scaling goes wild, Florin doesn't keep up at the same pace. She's consistent, but consistency alone does not dominate late game Abyssdia. She's solid, just not spectacular. Now let's talk about Flolan, who's actually pretty flexible. She brings physical utility and can enable harmony synergies effectively in the early game. If you are experimenting with team compositions and trying to build around harmony mechanics, she's a comfortable starting point. However, as your roster grows, you will likely replace her with stronger support such as Aisha, Lapis, or Nimue. Flolan is not bad at all. She simply gets overshadowed once premium tier support units enter the picture. She's the stepping stone to something greater. Moving on to Ruby, your classic frontline defender. She comes with enemy debuffs and ally buffs, which already makes her more than just a wall standing there looking tough. In early player versus environment content and even in the arena, she can hold the line surprisingly well. She absorbs pressure and gives your backline room to breathe. The issue is that she does not offer real damage per second potential, so while she is sturdy and useful, she is not the kind of tank that secretly wins fights by herself. She protects, she survives, she does not delete enemies. And finally, Yoru. If you need early physical damage per second for clearing content quickly, she absolutely delivers. Against physically weak enemies, she can look like a mini carry and feel fantastic to use. But the moment you run into magical heavy encounters or enemies stacked with physical resistance, things get awkward fast. She is very matchup dependent. When she is good, she feels great. When she is not, you will notice immediately. So overall, B tier in Abyssdia is not about being a bad, it is about being temporary heroes. They help you build momentum, they smooth out your early progression, and they give you breathing room while you hunt for those higher tier upgrades. And honestly, sometimes that is exactly what your account needs. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ash, Aika, Elfina, Arena, Lapis, and Nimue. Alright, let's slide into the A tier zone of Abyssdia, where the characters start feeling like they actually know what they're doing. These are your real workhorses, units that aren't just okay, but consistently reliable and in the right hands can make a huge difference in both player versus environment and player versus player. First up, Ashe. Oh boy, if you need a boss killer who doesn't mess around, Ashe is your guy. His melee damage output is insane, and with strong burst potential, he can absolutely melt bosses before they even realize what hit them. Add in self-attack buffs through his harmony skill, and you've got a vanguard who basically says, I came to fight and I came to win. Early game, mid game, even some late game bosses, Ashe can hold his own like a champ. Then we have Aika, the versatile damage per second unit who thrives in pretty much any scenario. She fits agile, utility-focused team comps beautifully. The only tiny drawback is that she doesn't burst as hard as a pure damage per second unit, but honestly, her adaptability across all modes more than makes up for that. She's the kind of unit that feels smooth to play, no matter your strategy. Elfina is next, and she's all about consistency. In player versus environment, she delivers reliable damage output and thrives in buff-based team compositions. She doesn't quite have the raw burst power of S-tier units, but she's incredibly dependable, which is half the battle in Abyssdia. If you want a unit that won't let you down when you need steady damage, Elfina is solid gold. Now let's talk arena. This vanguard is like your go-to for sustained damage with a sprinkle of crowd control utility. She shines in both player versus environment and player versus player, keeping fights manageable while wearing enemies down, slowly but surely. She's not flashy, but she gets the job done, and sometimes that's exactly what you need in a tough battle. Healing and support are crucial, and that's where Lapis steps in. Accessible and reliable, she brings enemy defense debuffs, ally HP recovery, and debuff removal through her Symphony of Life skill. Basically, she's the backbone of any team that wants to survive a bit longer and make sure your DPS units get to do their thing without constantly wiping out. A dependable healer like Lapis is often what separates a messy run from a clean, efficient victory. Finally, there's Nemu, who is all about flexibility. Her kit allows her to gain strong synergies in a wide variety of teams, but she does shine best when your team composition is coordinated. She rewards planning and smart setups, making her a strategic pick for those who like to think a few steps ahead. She may not carry solo, but in the right hands, Nemu can elevate a team from solid to spectacular. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Aisha, Kaliasarin, Rachel, Rin, and Setia. Alright, now we've officially arrived at the S tier in Abyssdia, where the characters stop playing around and start defining the meta. These are the ones you want leading your teams, making content feel way too easy, and honestly, giving you that I'm unstoppable vibe in both player versus environment and player versus player. Buckle up, because these units are next level, starting with Aisha, the early game MVP you didn't know you needed. She's a healer, yes, but she's not just any healer. Her skill cost is low, which makes Harmony Synergy a breeze, and she doesn't just support, she can dish out serious burst damage herself. Imagine a unit that heals your team while also making the enemies regret showing up. That's Aisha. She's basically the Swiss army knife of early Abyssdia. Then there's Kaliasarin, the range magical powerhouse who makes player versus environment content look like a casual stroll. She excels in burst damage, has insane multipliers, and even stuns enemies for crowd control. Basically, if Kaliasarin isn't in your pull list, you're missing out on a unit that can carry almost any team through the trickiest bosses. She's the kind of character that makes you feel like you actually deserve your victories. Rachel is next, your magical damage dealer with high player versus environment viability. She's strong, she hits hard, and the best part is your chance. She's currently on rate up, which makes her pretty easy to acquire. If you're hunting for a unit that just works, Rachel is your go-to. She brings raw magic power that can shred through content faster than you realize, and she blends nicely into almost any team composition. Rin is the consistent meta staple that keeps showing up because she simply works. High physical damage per second, excellent team synergies, and flexibility in multiple setups make her a must-have. She's the kind of unit that you can rely on from early stages all the way through high-level PvE grinding and competitive PvP. With Rin, you always feel like you have a solid anchor in your roster. Finally, Setia rounds out S tier as the ultimate player versus environment scaler. She pairs beautifully with Aisha and Kaliasarin, creating a team combo that can dominate the meta for the long term. If you're serious about building a powerhouse roster, Setia is basically the cherry on the top. She ensures that your team isn't just good, it's untouchable. In short, these S tier units are the real deal, and having them in your squad is basically like hitting the Abyssdia jackpot. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.